Jacob. So
this dude showing up with a freaking 10
There's
ton.
so much, and even if we had more, I don't think it.
oh my god.
Vaughn getting just does a burn.
No, that is that Vaughn?
No, I like this.
You also have gigantic hands.
In that car right now. We didn't fly all the ways here to watch you walk around in a sling.
You love it. I love it. A whole bunch of other people love it. My grandma loves it. My mom loves it. My wife keeps stealing it all the time. What am I talking about? FD merch. I get it. It's gone. Somebody takes it from me. It's like I never even owned it. Believe it or not, 20% of all the FD merch I own has vanished. Just like you saving 20%. It's like it's vanishing. 20% of the cost of your FD merch vanishing. All you got to do, use podcast 25 at checkout. It's like magic. Podcast 25 at checkout, save 20%. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Outerzone, the official podcast of Formula Drift. My name is Jacob Gettins, and today we've got Mr. Dai Yoshihara on. I do want to, can you give me like the proper pronunciation of your first name? Full first name.
Full first name.
Full first name, yeah.
Okay, my name's Dai Yoshihara.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Got it. Yeah, no, it does. It's one of those, like when we're announcing, we always take our best stab at it, and then you kind of have to like, how much of an accent do you throw on it before it just seems like incorrect? So yeah, and I feel like Jared like condensed it to Dai pretty early on, although he does use Daijiro pretty often. So, you know, you get a good mix of both.
Yeah.
But how's everything been? I mean, you for somebody who's quote unquote retired from the sport, you seem to be busier now than you were back in the day.
Yeah, I've been really well doing some other motorsports. A lot of wheel-to-wheel racing in IMSA, Michelin Pilot Challenge. Other than that, like time attack and Pikes Peak, stuff like that. So I have been pretty good last few years. And then I do drifting, of course. Still some demos, Grid Lives and Subi Fest, stuff like that too. So can't complain, I guess.
No. I mean, I'm sure there's a nice separation now where you're kind of losing the stress of all the actual drifting part of it. You can kind of go and enjoy the sport and more or less fall in love with the sport again.
Yeah, for sure. I still love drifting, of course. I would say still drifting is, my thing. I've done 18 seasons of Formula Drift. So as a competitive drift, I got enough for now, so that's pretty much why I stepped it out. Yeah. It's.
I mean, being on the backside of things, like I understand how stressful it is and how crazy it is, and like I don't think people are fully aware of just the monumental amount of time and resources and family life you have to give up just to go and drive for what, like maybe a total of 4 minutes in an entire weekend.
Yeah. Exactly. That's crazy. So it's honestly, end of my career, it was tough. It was hard for me to enjoy drift. So, it was a good sign.
Yeah. I think you walked away at a good time then, that like you recognize that maybe you weren't enjoying it the same way you were, a few years before that, and left before, I don't want to say like hated the sport, but before you didn't want to come back to the sport or come, because I mean, I'm sure people that they left too late and now they just never want to do it anymore. And it's like, you kind of picked a good time where you're like, okay, I'm not as happy, but I know I could be if I just went and drove for fun.
There you go. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. I mean, that's good. It means we still get to see you in a car and still get to see you slide. And well, I guess transitioning out of drifting, why did you go into the motorsports that you did? Was it something that you had an eye on, or was it something where it was more you had the opportunity, you had the convenience, so it just kind of seemed like the next step?
I guess it's a little bit of both. So I don't know many people knows, but I came from Japan, and I started drifting as like one of those like a street drifter back in like 90s. I don't know if I should talk about it, but so I don't really have any motorsports background, and professional drifting was my main motorsports background. So I didn't really have wheel to wheel or like a grid driving experience up until maybe 2010, 11, around that time. So basically like 10, 15 years ago, I started like, time attack and some wheel to wheel stuff like that. So slowly that, I mean, FD was main till like 21, but, in the meantime, I was learning grip driving here and there. And then just the timing, came in like right timing. When I stepped out FD, I had opportunity to do, more other motorsports. I mean, in the same time, I was doing the Pikes Peak time attack, but the more wheel-to-wheel stuff, I did SRO, TC America. That was 2023. And then last couple of years, I've been doing the IMSA Pilot Challenge. So yeah, like, I've been always wanted to do that kind of stuff, but, also the opportunity, the timing just worked out kind of thing.
Yeah, you go through the grip racing thing kind of so subtly. Like obviously this is a drifting podcast, but your accomplishments in the world of grip, as for some reason all of us drifters tend to call it that, is pretty nuts though. Like what do you think it is that created that? Obviously you did spend a lot of times spirited driving in Japan within the mountains. I mean that's more or less what brought you over. A fun drive with Ken Miyoshi is really the 2 hours on the mountain. Yeah. And next thing you know, you're on a plane to America. But what do you think it is that allows so many drifters to be able to come over, transition over to grip racing and just immediately do well?
Well, so I guess at the end of the day, it's a car control skill, right? Both grip driving, drift driving, you use the same car control skill, but you're just applying different way. So it takes time. To me, it took me a little long time to understand how to go faster. It's completely different, from drifting, right? But at the end of the day, it's a skill. So, more you have a skill or the, what do you call it? Yeah. Skills in your pocket that you can just use that. And yeah, so I guess that's pretty much it. It's at the end of the day, it's the same car control skill. That's what I want to say.
You're still in the vehicle. You're still trying to get around a course, and it's just a matter of how you end up getting around that course, right?
Right. But please don't get me wrong. Grip driving, road racing is whole another learning curve, right? So I'm not saying anybody can drift really well, can do racing. It's not the case. You have to learn a lot. And to me too, like I'm still learning a lot. And then, to be that fast, I've been okay, but to get like a championship level driver, it's a lot of, it's a next level skill, I would say.
I mean, you do have a lot of accomplishments. Like Pikes Peak specifically is the one that always catches me with the first place in Unlimited Class 2020. Like that's wild. I do think drifters in particular are kind of built different than a lot of other motorsports athletes. We're like a great driver, but a little bit crazier. Pikes Peak is just such a completely different animal because, as we've seen with like the Evo corner and plenty of other crashes, it's an all or nothing commitment. So do you think being hardened by drifting is what helped with an accomplishment like that?
I think so. It's, especially like back in the days, Pikes Peak was like half pavement and half like, dirt, right?
Yeah.
So you have to go sideways. So for sure back then, I think it's more like a skill in between drifting and then the, circuit grip racing. But now it's more to like, more close to the circuit racing, but still it's not real track. It's a street and, grip level is a lot lower than like most other, like a regular circuit. So you kind of have to know how to go fast, in the, low grip environment. So I think, the drifting skill kind of, useful there. And
yeah, it's a lot of different, traction, I guess, like elements throughout Pikes Peak in particular as well. Like the car acts very differently from when you start it to when you end that run. Elevation, temperature, all play a factor. And, I've always looked at it as within drifting, you're always surpassing the edge of traction. Like that's the whole goal of it.
Yep.
But you need to know where that traction is to be able to go past it effectively, and you need to figure out how far that goes. So to me, it gives a lot of drifters an advantage, because if it's not even if, but when a car steps out on you, you're almost more at home at that point than the moment before it steps out.
Yeah, true that. And yes, so I think pretty much you explained that. So yeah, the Pikes Peak from the start to finish, it changes so much. So I think that, you have to adapt right away in the conditions. And for that, I think, doing the drifting, I think you have something that you can use to that Pikes Peak stuff for sure.
I want to go back to like the early days of drifting, because what I'm finding through like going through the analytics of this podcast and stuff is the vast majority of the people listening to the show, massive, huge, enthusiastic fans, which is great, but most of them are within the first or the latest 10 years. And you being pretty much day one, even kind of before day one, if you want to like go really far back into it, what were those early years like? Because you came over to America, almost no English, if not any English whatsoever, got thrown into a car, and you did well in the beginning. You got picked because of your performance and your ability. But what was FD like in general as a series in those formative years?
Yeah, so I was one of those OG driver and
Still are. We can't take that from you. You're still an OG driver.
Oh, thank you. I mean, like OG in Formula Drift, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it started at 2004, and so that basically it was like nobody knows what to expect. Drifting wasn't as big as it's 22 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still remember it was Atlanta, and a lot less people, and basically the driving level was way lower than it is right now. But it's a lot more like grassroots. I mean, compared to other motorsports, still drifting is like very relatable and more grassroots kind of, but even more so back then. And then it was a big difference. I don't know what am I going to explain right now, but
no, I mean, you guys were all trying to figure it out at the same time. Like nobody really had an advantage. A few people came from other motorsports that gave them a bit of an advantage, as we see with Reese and Sam Humanet and even Tanner Faust in a few years after. But I guess, did you at the time think like, oh, I'm going to make a career out of this? Like, this is going to be my life?
That was like maybe few or even more years later. Maybe like 2006, 2007, around that time, like after 3-4 years, we picked up more sponsors, and I was actually start making some money out of it. Because of course, first few years, I didn't get money out of it. Of course, I was actually lucky enough to not spend my own money, and the sponsor was covering all the costs, but it wasn't enough to make a living out of it. But 3-4 years later, because drifting got popular really quickly after like 2004, and those 3-4 years I think changes quite a bit, and then I could kind of see, oh, maybe this could be my career. So I think I remember around that, like 2006, 2007, around that time.
How long did it take before you were kind of able to leave the day job, which, I mean, depends on which one? Could have been Denny's, could have been a car salesman, could have been anything at that point. I still can't get the idea of you flipping hash browns or pancakes at a Denny's out of my head, as a very, very young adult. But I guess, like, at what point do you feel like it became a career where you're like, oh, this is what I do. This is the thing that defines me as a person?
So to do FD full season, I basically have to move here, right? I was still based in Japan, but I couldn't really keep my job. So 2004, I already quit my job, which was the salesman at the used car dealership. So I was basically using my saving for a little bit, but I did how do you explain? It's like you can get hired for just a day kind of thing. So when I'm in Japan,
like a temp job.
yeah, it's not really good pay, but I can kind of survive kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was like maybe, like 2004, maybe half a year. And then I actually started eBay business, selling car parts from Japan to the eBay, which is, or the US or the internationally. So, back then it wasn't, I mean, now, the prices all over the world is like pretty much the same, but it was a big gap in the States and the US. So I was able to make good money just selling small parts here and there. So I did that all the way to 2010, 11-ish.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was like a legit business actually. But as I started making money from drifting, making less on eBay and then kind of like, transition to, I would like to say professional driver living.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much just on the cusp of you winning the championship, which I mean, that was the discount tire days, really like that. I'm guessing in and around that big sponsorship opportunity, it's like, okay, I may not have to spend every single night taking, photos of things and listing them online anymore.
Well, I would say, when I started driving Reese Millen, 2008, I was driving one of his cars, GTO.
Yeah.
I was, he offered me a good deal. So I was able to make a living just from that. But, still eBay sales was good. So why not just keep
why
going?
not? Right?
Yeah.
It's only a couple weekends a year. So why not?
Right. So I just kept going until 2010, 2011, stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. So it was just always having something on the go. And then what I think, and this is about the time that I really got into drifting, and I'll say that your series, one, Behind the Smoke, very ahead of its time. I mean, really, it was probably 5 or 6 years ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Because what you were doing back then is what a lot of the YouTubers are, were pushing for even 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, it's still happening, but not in the same way. I don't know if you've gone back and rewatched any of those, but they are hilarious. Like, they are incredibly entertaining. If anybody wants to see what FD was like in 2010, 2011, 2012, that series, I think, depicts it quite well.
Yeah. It was Taro from GT Channel's idea. And then, like you say, it was like a little too early. I wish it was like more like a perfect timing, but I know it was too early and YouTube wasn't really a thing. And then there's no such thing as like a YouTubers and stuff. So yeah.
But I think it helped inspire a lot. And I would give it credit in spreading drifting in a lot of ways. Like I've got a bunch of friends in Ireland, and a lot of them accredit you coming to Ireland to go drifting as well as Behind the Smoke to keep people interested. There's probably 4 or 5 people I've spoken to from Ireland that all point towards you and as the reason they got into it.
Wow.
Because it was a big deal when you made your way over there.
Glad to hear. I didn't know that.
Yeah. You have a small but very dedicated fan base in Ireland. So yeah, I mean, if you ever go over again, you could do a great little meet and greet.
Yeah, I would love to go back.
Yeah, but I do. I really think that series changed for a lot of people. And then we saw, other stuff come out of Network A, like Turked or Fresh Tracks with Chris Forsberg. And, I really think you unintentionally spurred on the content creation that kind of grew the sport later on. I'm sure at the time you're probably just like, okay, I want to just drive my car. I'm kind of tired of doing interviews and being in front of the camera all the time, but it seemed to work.
Yeah. And then I guess that's almost like a standard of nowadays, right? You have to have contents, and that's actually more important than, I wouldn't say more, but
it's equal
then. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It also spurred on a lot of jokes, like you asking people if they go to a restaurant and have creme brulee with you, which I think was probably one of my favorite reoccurring gags on the show.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for watching.
Hey, like I said, it was one of my early early addictions when it came to drifting was that and a lot of like the Turk and Network A series that came after it. But I do have to ask, are you still blessing your car with water before you drive? Because that was another fun little part of those shows.
Actually, I don't anymore. Yeah. It's, one of those like a superstitious kind of thing, right? I try to stop that because at one point, I forget to do it or I couldn't do it for some reason. And then, it kind of, it got to my head, right? And it's not the reason why I couldn't do well, but, yeah, you know what I mean? Like I basically stopped all that stuff at one point. I don't remember what year, but
there was a pretty extensive list. It was blessed in the front end of the car. I believe you had to check equipment in a very particular way.
Yeah.
And if it didn't go correctly, you'd start over. I've even heard stories of you like yelling and screaming at the top of your lungs before you got in the car or it was in your car. So you had a pretty good ritual before you went out on track.
Yeah. Actually, I totally forgot about it, but I've done a lot of different things. But now I don't do anything.
Nothing, huh? You're just
Nothing.
in the car, ready to go.
Yeah. I don't want to rely on that kind of stuff anymore. Yeah.
I think that's fair because, as you said, if you don't do it, it gets in your head at that point.
Yeah.
And sometimes you remember when it's too late to be able to go back and do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to bring it back, I'm not going to get mad. That's for sure.
Maybe I should try next race or next event, whatever I'm going to do. Yeah.
Watch what happens. You bless the car with a water bottle and take home a track record. And it's like, oh, I guess I have to bring it back.
Yeah. At that point, I'll do that again.
Yeah. I will say, as a fellow head apparel enthusiast, I would like to see the visor come back. That was like class. You still got the hair for it. I think you can pull it off.
I guess I can just trim a little bit and I can make a spiky hair. Yeah. I mean, but you know what? I was using the visor like maybe 2020 and 21.
Yeah, you did bring it back for the last couple of years.
But nobody really said anything. And so maybe
I wasn't there. That's why I wasn't there.
That's right. You're right. You could have said something if you are, but
I know. I was around, but I was just a media guy at the time, so it wouldn't have had the same impact.
I see.
Yeah, what a strange thing to take off the visor and the hair. Was any of that intentional, or were you just put it on? You're like, I think I look amazing, and just kept doing it.
I didn't think I look amazing or anything, but yeah, because I just wanted to make something different, right? And then I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. Because visor was kind of old. I don't know, in the States, was it kind of popular? In Japan, like back in 90s, like, in like a small type of fashion, I think it was a little bit popular. But yeah, nobody wear that until, not even nowadays at all, I guess, but until I wear it.
I think it's strictly for 40-year-old golfers at this point. I think they've pretty much adopted it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you pick up golf, I don't know if you do golf, but it's a great reason to bring it back.
True. I do here and there, so maybe I should.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Put one in the golf bag. You never know.
Yeah.
On a complete aside, this is like less to do about the interview. I have a story. You and I actually met years and years ago, although I was a bit of an asshole at the time.
You are.
It was Grid Life 2018. It was in Atlanta. So you were driving that. I was just starting to make friends with like Paco and Sam and Corey and them. So it's like kind of, part of, not a part of that group, but like, kind of associated. So I think it was maybe the Friday night of Grid Life, and everybody was standing around down in the pits because Grid Life Atlanta back in the day was quite the time. There's a lot of stories I'm not allowed to tell from those nights.
Okay.
But Paco actually dared me to steal your hat.
Ooh.
And I did.
Oh, you did?
I jumped up, grabbed your hat, took it off your head, put it on my own. You turned around, and I expected you to be angry. And immediately you just had the biggest grin on your face. And you're like, it looks great on you. And that's all you said to me. And I still have the hat. It's actually sitting in storage right now. I tried to get it back before this episode, but I couldn't get to the locker in time. So if I see you again, I'll bring it and I'll get it signed, and it was the undefeated hat, the black and gray one.
Oh, and I gave it to you.
Yeah, after I stole it from you.
Oh, wow.
You were gracious enough to let me keep it. You probably just looked at me like some dumb kid that had the balls to steal a hat off your head. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't
That's a little-
remember, unfortunately, but
I don't think a lot of people remembered most of those nights, but yeah,
true.
it was.
I'm sure I was pretty drunk, I
It
guess.
was, hey, you said it, but anyways, it was. I mean, those were crazy times, and really, what I've learned from being a part of FD is like, what happens on track is you're good. What happens on track is kind of like the smallest part of the FD experience. It's like the pits, the paddock, the burnout boxes, the hot pits. Like that's really what the culture of FD is like everything that happens off of the track.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah. I mean, you're welcome to come visit the pits whenever you want. I mean,
yeah.
I saw you in Irwindale last year. I mean, you've been around.
I was
You're
at the Long Beach too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's how we got this kicked off. I was
That's
bugging
right.
you at that point.
We talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So within your tenure of driving within FD, you drove a lot of different cars, ultimately coming back to an S chassis to win the championship. Of those cars, how would you rank them in terms of favorites? I don't, you don't have to like bash anybody because I know there was a few that weren't very successful, or what looked like incredibly hard to drive. But do you have a ranking or even like a top 3 of those cars?
Yeah, I would say number 1 would be, of course, the Discount Tire 13 because I won the championship. Obviously, at the time, the car was really good, really fast. Yeah, so of course I drove well, but I have to say the car was really good. Like compared to other competitors, I think the 13 was really good in 2011. Number 2, I still want to give my BRZ, the car I still have. So that was like last 8 seasons I was using. I didn't really have a good success. I think the highest ranked or the position was like a 2nd place here and there, but still the car was good and still the car still works right now. And the number 3, I would say, Reese's GTO actually.
Okay. All right.
That car was really well built. I mean, you can assume it's, built by Reese Millen. He knows the car. And it wasn't, I think his approach back then was not really a drifter, he's more like a rally driver. But a lot of the team were building the car more like a drift style. But anyways, the GTO is like a big car, long wheelbase. And, there's no like angle kits and stuff back then, but he had a good amount of angle, steering angle. And with that wheelbase, it could get good drift angle. And I was really having fun driving that car that year, I remember.
Yeah, I don't know why we never developed the GTO more, probably because there just wasn't a lot of them. I mean, there's a fair bit, but I don't know why it never took off. I'm sure there's some suspension person that'll comment and say like, oh, it's because of this and that. Like, but I don't know, rear wheel drive, big American muscle.
Yeah.
We see a lot of it now, just not a GTO.
Yeah. You're right. I don't know. It could have got more popular, I think. But I guess 2009, the brand closed, right? The Pontiac was gone, and maybe that's something to do with it. Well, that's actually the part of the reason why I didn't really keep driving that car from 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would have been a factory back team at the time, right? Like you guys were.
Yeah.
That was all being provided by Pontiac or Chevy. Yeah. Those early days, obviously I wasn't there, but just hearing the stories and people talking about all the, like how big the rigs were and teams bringing 4 and 5 rigs out to the pits and not having room and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
I hate pointing back and being like, oh, things were better back then. But you kind of got to live through a few different waves of the sport, right? Where early days were kind of rough. You guys hit a pretty big peak in 08, 09, and then the economy wasn't doing great. Things kind of came down, and then we saw another peak a few years ago. I guess, like, from the driver's perspective, like, how do you keep the longevity in the sport? How do you keep going, like either financially or mindset? Because you started a family a little bit later on in the career, but maybe what advice do you have for some of the drivers that are struggling? Because like we're not in a bad spot right now by any means. The sport's massive, but financially it could be a rough couple of years.
Yeah, you know what? I would like to ask same question to some other drivers, to be honest. But yeah, that's a really tough one, especially financially, right? It's really hard to see one company stays for that long time. But as a driver, your best to do is try to make a relationship with them and then keep the relationship as long as you can. And I've seen some companies stay for a long time, right? And for my case, Falcon Tire, I can't thank them enough. They supported me for 12 seasons, and first like 5-6 years, I was basically just show up and drive. Like they provide everything. I would say that was like a golden era for our FD era. It was such a nice situation, and yeah, that was great. But they were there since 2004 all the way to 22, right? It's like almost 20 years. And I've seen some companies still do the same thing. Like, for example, like Forsberg has NOS for like, I don't know how many years. It's a long time, right?
I think he lost them for 1 year, but then got them back. That was the blackout year where he just had like the black livery, but he still got it back either way.
Yeah. And the bond, of course, is with Ford. But anyways, so I feel like those successful drivers are good at like keeping the relationship with the sponsors and making them happy. So that's one of the most important thing. And the other thing, which I want to ask those people too, how to keep yourself motivated for such a long time. That's a tough one too. I wouldn't say I wasn't excited at all, but for sure, 2004 versus 2020, myself coming into the event, my excitement or, the mental feeling was not the same. So that's something that I want to know too. Like
I think no matter how amazing the job is, at some point it still feels like work, right? You're still clocking in, you're still doing the thing you need to do. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd like to ask my dad how he worked 30 years for the same, in the same industry. Like I can only do a couple of years at a job and I'm like, I need out of here, man. So, you still had a ton of longevity in the sport. So you obviously figured something out. Like you were able to get through and it still looked like you were having fun near the end.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah. You still put in a lot of time.
Well, yeah. So I'm sorry, I was just talking about the FD or the 1 Series, right? So for myself to keep the motivation is like changing stuff, right? So Formula Drift, again, I love drifting, but I was kind of struggling at the end. And since I won the championship 2011, my expectation is to win the championship again. But from there on, all the way to 2020, 21, I didn't really have a chance. I've been trying, but and then at some point I felt like maybe I don't have it anymore. And then the moment you think that way, it's tough, right? I don't want to sell myself to the sponsor. Hey, I'm gonna win the championship. Please sponsor me. But in my head, there's no way I can win a championship. That's not cool. But I kind of feel that way in the last few years of my career. So, sorry, I'm kind of changing the subject.
No, you're good. You're good. No, it's all good.
That's kind of like, what it was. And then, I was lucky enough to have great sponsor, Time 14 at the time. And then they wanted to move on to something else. So that was kind of worked out. And then, but sorry, back to your question, keep myself fresh in the industry, keep doing the same thing, but a little different. So to me, it's still driving. Driving is the most important thing for me, but different type of motorsports, different type of events or whatever. And then, yeah, last few years been really cool, and yeah, I'm having really good time.
It seems like it. I mean, you're
Yeah.
as active as you were, if not busier in a lot of cases. So you're finding something to keep you doing all of this in a very, very weird industry to, make a career out of.
It is, you're right. Very weird.
You hear that? I'm getting my hand warmed up for all those high fives I get when I save people $5. And I'm going to see you in New Jersey because you're going to use OZNJ at checkout. You're going to give me a high five. You're like, dude, thanks for saving me $5. I'll see you in New Jersey. And hopefully you're keeping $5 in your pocket because you used OZNJ at checkout. Have you had moments? I mean, the championship in 2011 being, on a bit of a tangent. I went back and rewatched both your episode as well as some of the event coverage. And I think we forget about that year and how stressful Irwindale was because you had to sit and watch to see if you were going to win a championship. And it was between you, Forsberg, I think it was JTP,
yeah.
and Darren McNamara. And if any of you had won the event, you had won the championship, and you kind of had to sit by the sidelines and just unfortunately hope that they didn't do well so you could win that. I guess swapping over here, what was that night like? Like, I don't know how you kept your cool in any way. I don't know if I could watch.
Well, yeah, that was a crazy day, and obviously it wasn't the way that I wanted to win the championship. I wanted to just do well, but it wasn't the case. And honestly, I still remember when I got knocked out in top 16. I think I battled with Ken, who's my good friend as well. Mm-hmm. But anyways, after that, I basically gave up. Like, oh man, it's out. So I was pretty bummed, but it is what it is. But it kind of fell back into my hands. So it got me a good amount of time to hit me. I didn't feel like I won it because I didn't feel like I earned it, right? I know championship point is not for just the Irwindale. It's throughout the season. But that day, I really didn't perform well. So I remember because of that, I won a championship again in the way I want. So that was my mentality or the motivation. But I couldn't achieve that at the end. But yeah.
It was still a great season. You had 2 event wins that season. So it's not like, I think it was very well earned, but I understand what you're saying. Like you wanted to win a battle or win the event or whatever and come out of the car at that point and be like, okay, I did the thing, instead of kind of having to sit on the sidelines and watch other drivers and, unfortunately hope they didn't do well. I'm sure it's a weird spot to be in.
It is. It was.
Yeah. But I mean, either way, your banner's still flying. You've still got the championship. You've got the trophy somewhere. So it still counts at the end of the day.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think it's been like 14 years and still, I guess that achievement was really big. I'm sure, maybe not, but, part of the reason why I'm here talking to you right now, I'm out of FD for like almost 4 years, but, still you wanted to interact with me is, that could be a part of the reason too, right? So.
Yeah, I think you just had a lasting legacy in the sport, championship or not. I mean, between, representing Japan, being somebody coming over, at the time, Japan was the pinnacle of the sport, and you represented that. You were always a character in the sport. I don't think you get enough credit for how funny and creative you were. One, the April Fool's video of you pretending to retire early to become an MMA fighter. There are still people that copy similar ideas. And then the video that I don't think a lot of people have seen, the fake Bruce Lee interview.
You've done a lot of research.
That's my job, man. That is hilarious. So I mean, whether it's the championship, what you did content-wise, the drive-in, the style, like you still have a legacy in the sport, and don't think that just because you didn't win a championship the way you wanted to doesn't mean that people, don't know who you are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Glad to hear.
no problem. I guess like what's your end goal now? Where do you want to be in 10, 15 years? How do you want to, well, I don't know if you'll ever retire, but like what's the future look like for you at this point?
I wish I could say I want to be like this, but
Okay.
like you said, this is weird industry, right? The motorsports is like, to me, like, especially when I start doing wheel to wheel, I realize how much, I don't want to say, but in a way, like, a lot of things are like rich people's like
Yeah.
expense kind of thing, right? So for people like me to survive is very tough. So I can't really have like a big goal at this point, but I would love to just keep doing what I do. So that's one clear goal for 10, 15 years, I would say. But I would like to try some more like a new style of motorsports or different series or stuff like that. But yeah, I don't really have exciting like
No, it's
goal.
I mean, continuing to just do fun stuff is I think for a lot of people, that's a pretty amazing 10 years. I mean, even if you were to say to somebody, hey, you can go and just drive race cars for a year and don't have to worry about anything else, almost anybody listening to this would give up whatever they're doing to go do that. And you've gotten to make a career out of it and you're still doing it. So
right.
It's not a bad spot to be in.
Yeah. So just want to maintain this position and keep doing for,
Yeah.
As long as
you
I
mentioned driving or interested in driving another motorsport. Is there like a short list of motorsports you'd like to jump into given the opportunity?
I mean, I'm actually doing it right now, which is the wheel to wheel. So I would like to do some more like a different series or the different class. Currently, I'm driving the TCR spec cars, but I would like to do GT4s, GT3 if possible. But it's a lot more. But you need to have a lot of more sponsor money to do that. So that's small goal if I can. But other than that, anything, any monster truck rallies, if I have opportunity, it would be great to try. Yeah.
Whenever it comes your way, it's like, all right, let's give it a shot, see how it feels.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How's balancing the family life with traveling that much? I know on my own side, I have an insane year. It's the busiest year I've ever had.
Wow. Good
But
for you.
from your perspective, thank you. It's all good things. It's just like, I'm sitting just at the start of being gone for close to 100 days this year.
Wow.
So I guess advice-wise for me, how did you get through large amounts of travel? Because you were all over the world and spent time in a lot of countries over the years. But how did you manage to do that and help raise kids and be around family? Like what's the, I guess, is there any tips or tricks to doing that?
But I don't think I do as much as you do though. 100 days. I think I'm a lot less.
Yeah, maybe now, but I mean, back in the day, like, even that 2012 era where, you were in Europe, you spent time, you were judging in Japan for a lot.
Oh, you're right.
And those are not small flights. You were an instructor, I think, for a series as well.
Yeah.
I have to go back and look, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right though. In the past, some years, I was more crazier than these days. But I think around that time, I wasn't married. I didn't have a kid. So a lot easier. But now I think I have a good balance nowadays. So honestly, like this year, I didn't really get a full season opportunity for the IMSA race.
Okay.
So last 2 years, I did the full season, and one season is like 11 weekends in IMSA. So it was quite a bit. But this year, actually, I only do a few races, so not as much. And then even like last year, it was quite a bit traveling, but I think it was kind of good. What do you call it? Like a timeout from the family in a way.
Mhm.
So If I was home for whole year, I don't think I can appreciate family or kids as much. So I feel like my time of the travel these days are good balance compared to other people. Like maybe you might be having a too much travel, I feel like, but
I mean, maybe this year's a bit much. Yeah. Yeah.
right. And
But
then some people like, 9 to 5 and then doesn't really travel anywhere. And then maybe those people want to might want to do some, work travels and stuff. Right. So yeah. But anyway, sorry.
I mean, you're good. I mean, I would argue if you work a 9 to 5, you're probably away from your home a pretty equivalent amount of time. I mean, the upside is now, like, I come home and I'm home. Like, if I'm not on the road, I'm in my house. So there's a bit nicer of a balance that way. I don't have to, my kids don't have to wait till 6:30 at night before I roll in the door. It's like I can drop them off in the morning and pick them up after school. So it's just a different balance, right?
Right, exactly. You're saying, yeah. Like when I'm home, basically I can do drop off and pick up. So I feel like I spend more time than like a 9 to 5 dad when I'm home, right? So yeah.
You get to be present when you're home. Like you can do more stuff and spoil your kids or whatever.
Yeah.
What are you doing at home these days? Like what's your schedule like? What's a typical day for Dai Yoshihara if he's not racing?
I don't really have like a typical day, but like yesterday I came back from Laguna Seca. I was actually at the event, and today I drop off kids and I run some errands, and then I'm doing this with you right now. And I have to go pick up one of my kids and take them to baseball. But the next few days I'm testing cars, so I'm actually traveling. So every day is kind of different, and which I think is cool. But sometimes it's always glass is cleaner kind of thing. I'm sure you had the same moment too. Like I feel like if I have like 9 to 5, I don't have to think about this and that. But at the end of the day, I think it's a cool lifestyle that we have. I feel like.
Trust me, there's a few days where, I'll be on the road and you're 3 days into a 6-day trip or something and you go to Walmart and you're looking at someone stocking shelves going like, man, you know what? That dude doesn't know how good he's got it. Like he can clock out and when he's done for the day, that's it. Like he doesn't have to worry about work. Yes. He doesn't think about work. He's not scheduling or worried about flights delayed or did I book a hotel or what am I going to eat? And it's different. And at the same time, they're looking at us going like, man, it'd be super cool to travel and go to these places. So
right. That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah. I'm sure they have their own struggles and, the things that we don't see. They have a lot of stuff going on there. But from the outside, damn, man, I wish I can just do 9 to 5 here and there.
Yeah. It's funny when people will ask and they're like, oh, it must be cool to go to this, wherever. And it's like, yeah, I get to see an airport, a hotel, a racetrack, maybe a gas station on the way, and then I'm back to the airport, and then I'm back home again. So, yeah. Did you ever get to take any extra days during those years? And no, yeah, okay.
That's a lot of people say the same thing to me, right? Like when I go to the work trip, they go, "Oh, you get to see this and that." But I guess I did like maybe first year of FD. Whenever I go to any city, I try to stay maybe 1 or 2 days extra, but maybe, after 1 year, just basically try to go home as soon as I can and you spend that time to some other stuff. I'm sure you're the same way, right?
Yeah, most of the time I try and take an early flight the next morning or, it depends. It really depends on how the schedule goes, but yeah, it's just, I want to get home. Like, cool, I'm done. Event's over. The crowd's cleared out. They're tearing down the stands, and it's like I want to get home. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel you. It's tough. Do you think you'll get your kids into motorsports and drifting, or is it, where do you sit with that? Because I've heard both sides. I've heard some parents say like, nope, it's dangerous, and I don't want them to get into it. And I've heard others like, if they want to do it, I'll be the first one to support them.
Well, if they want to do it, I wouldn't say no to them. Okay. But I don't think I have enough financially enough room to support, to be honest. And motorsports is expensive, and especially like it's not like my days. I think if you want to do that kind of stuff, you might need good support from parents, which I don't think I have that, unfortunately. And then, I don't know if it's lucky or not, but they're not really into cars right now. And I'm cool with it. I mean, at the same time, I wish I can share the passion with them. I would love to share that, but I know the fact that I can't really support to the point they can be pro or anything. So, I mean, unless they're really good and they can find some sponsor. Yeah, I mean, could happen. So that's why I'm not gonna say no, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna stop everything and dump everything and try to support my kid. I'm not that kind of parent because my dad didn't really, or my parents didn't really support for my career in a way. So, yeah,
I'm sure that was a weird conversation though, going home and being like, "Hey, I'm going to America. I'm just gonna kind of give up everything and go try and be a professional race car driver."
Yeah, they weren't happy.
I bet not
for longest time, to be honest. Yeah.
I guess this might be too personal, but did they come around? Like, did they have a moment where they realized that risk was worth it?
I think it took them like years, maybe like when I won the championship, around that time, they kind of realized what I've done and what I was doing. And then almost like 180 degree different, they've been kind of supportive, mentally at least.
Yeah.
But until that moment, like 2004 all the way to like 10, 11, like they're like, what are you doing? Like, when you gonna start real job kind of thing? But I was start making, living out of it. So gradually they see that, and then, they understood eventually.
That's got to be kind of a cool moment though. Like when it all comes together and the championship, I'm sure was as bittersweet as it was, like, I'm sure it was a moment where you're like, oh, like I did it. This is why I sacrificed so much and why I was on a 20-hour flight every couple of weeks and why I lived out of hotels and backpacks for years. Like I can't imagine, obviously I'm not a champion of anything. So I don't know what that's truly like, but it's got to be validating in some way.
Oh yeah, 100%. Exactly you say. Because that 8 years, from 2004 to 11, winning the championship was everything. I didn't really have a family at the time too, so that was a great achievement.
Is there been any other moments in your career since then that you're like, I mean, Pikes Peak has definitely got to be up there, but I feel like driving a race car for a living, you're just always chasing that feeling of greatness and I don't know what other word to put on it.
Yeah, you're right. And like you say, I've been chasing that moment, but 2011 was the biggest, and it'll be hard to beat, I think.
Yeah. What do you think would beat it? Like, like, listen, like this might be FD's podcast, but I'm not going to pretend like FD is like the ultimate all the time. I'm sure there's moments that would be a bit bigger, especially now that you're, have ideas and motivations in other motorsports.
Maybe not the other championship. I don't know what it is, but could be. It's just a little different, right? Because my age at the time, like I said, literally like 2004 on to 2011, that was my life, right? But now I have family, I have a lot of different things going on. I'm much more older now. So like, even if, I mean, of course I want to win the championship in IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Unfortunately this year I'm not doing the full season, but I'm trying to get back on next year full season. Then if I can win the championship, of course it means a lot, but it's not going to be the same as winning the championship in FD in 2011. It's just, I guess it's more like my age, my life is kind of different compared to back then.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it was everything back then. Right?
Yeah.
Like, the sacrifices felt a lot bigger or were a lot bigger at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can only imagine being in early 20s and just kind of going all in to be like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm sure there was a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of questionable, like, why am I doing this still?
Yeah. That's a good question. I would like to find something equal to that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, like as a dad, there's been some things like my son has accomplished. He's only 11, but like just even I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like seeing your kids succeed is almost better than seeing yourself succeed in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree with that. So that changes your perspective quite a bit. Wow, so you have 11-year-old.
I do. I know. Like I've shaved, so I look like I'm, 22 years old.
How old are you now, by the way?
34.
Oh, still young.
Yeah, I just had them early. I kind of got the kids out of the way early, kind of thing, and now, it means I'll I have enough time to make enough money to put me in a good old age home.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's the.
Is he into driving, by the way?
He is now very much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's been raised at racetracks. I think he went to his first race. Probably 3 or 4 months old.
Oh wow.
So very early, and then he's got just a little dune buggy right now. But we went out. I got to give him his first ride along, like where I'm driving a couple of weeks ago, and he's been helping me work on a G35. So we're buying seat sliders so he can potentially reach the pedals, and if he can reach the pedals and see over the steering wheel, then I'll get him in a car.
Wow. So back to your question, so you're gonna support him driving?
I mean, same thing financially, if I can, like, I'm not gonna, for similar situation, I'm not gonna put my family in financial risk to make sure my son can be a motorsports superstar. But if I have the means and, the connections and whatever else, why not? Why not give it a go?
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
We'll see.
That's cool.
I mean, I look at what's going on in the sport right now. Manoa and Cameron Sorensen and Brandon Sorensen back in the day. And even, I mean, if you even go back to the beginning, one of your buddies, Ken Gucci, being as young as he was when he started, like it's when it's crazy to think that at 11 years old, he's almost a little bit behind when it comes to drifting at a really high level.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think though.
It is. Yeah. Ken was driving like 13 or 12. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's wild to think that at 11, I mean, if you get into go-karting, he should have started 5 years before, 6 years old.
It might be too late, actually.
Yeah. At 11, it might be too late.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And it's getting that way with drifting too, which is nuts.
Yeah.
So, this is a tough question to ask, but like, if you had to come back to drifting today, if let's say a sponsor comes to you and says, Dai, we want you back in the saddle, what level do you think you would be competitive at? Do you think you could jump back into pro and still be able to do it? Do you think it would be like, okay, maybe pro spec and work your way up? Or do you think that driving has gotten so far in drifting that it would be a bit of a work to get back into the seat?
That's a tough question, but
it's kind of a mean question too.
Kind
so
of mean,
sorry.
yeah.
A little bit mean.
What a dick.
I know, right?
But I still want to say I can compete in pro. But it's kind of like at what level? Like, do you want me to win the championship? And yes, I would say that's not going to be happening. Even pro spec is very high level now. But I can still, I feel like I can still drive with them in a pro class, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, Yeah,
you wouldn't make a fool of yourself in pro is what you're getting at.
Yeah. I'm not going to be James Dean tomorrow, but I can be one of them, at least I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of leads to an interesting question. Like you got to go through a lot of the different eras in the sport. Like we kind of talk about the early days, Reese and Sam. Tanner Faust kind of had his own era as well. Daigo Saito had his own era. James Dean had his own era. as a competitor, what was it like when you saw some of those people come into the sport? Was it scary? Was it motivating? Was it like what's that like, seeing somebody like that come into the sport and just being like, oh my gosh, this is completely different now?
Yeah. Honestly, there's a lot of mixed feelings, but yeah, scary, that's for sure. Because, you want to win the championship, but somebody else comes in and is so good, right? It's like, yeah, I remember those days, like Tana was really good. And Daigo, he basically changed the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, that was a year after I won the championship. But he,
right.
Yeah, he came in and then won the championship right away. And, all of a sudden, all the cars has over 1,000 horsepower because of him. And yeah, that was crazy to see. And and now James, but Asbo too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, those two guys, it just their driving level is so high, and crazy thing is they can just repeatedly doing it and very consistent. Just watching their final is crazy.
Mm-hmm. So you're still tuning into to broadcasts and okay.
Not every rounds, but yeah, as much as I can. Yeah.
That was Atlanta was pretty crazy. That was a very absurd night, to put it politely.
I bet. And it was pretty late for you, right?
It's emotionally exhausting. Like trying to explain to somebody afterwards, like, you just sat there and talked and it's like, yeah, you're right, I did. But you're so invested in what's going on. You have to be, like, as an announcer, you have to be like, the amount of empathy you need to have in those moments, and just be like, you have to kind of harness that energy and express it and bring everybody with you. It's the part of the job that no one told me. And it's the part of the job that I don't think anybody can teach me. I just have to be there to do it. And I'm like wiped when it's done. It's wild. Yeah. But I don't know. It's still an incredible job. And I'm not trying to take anything away from it. I'm insanely honored to even have that position. But yeah, it's exhausting.
I bet. I have big respect to you and Gerald and all these guys. I can't really talk, you guys are so good at like speaking, seeing what's going on, and then just right away, like translate from your mind. And that's amazing. And that must takes a lot of brain power. Maybe for you guys are natural, but I can only imagine it's going to be exhausting after the day.
I mean, it's similar. Like, I mean, you've got a lot of obviously like talent and natural ability and practice that went into it. And I'm sure driving is also very exhausting, both on the physical and mental end. Like it's hot in those cars, the G-force, you're tensing your muscles to keep, in the seat, but the mental game of driving, especially in drifting, because there's no mistakes. Like that, the mental game is crazy.
Yeah. So back to your question, we kind of changed subject, but yeah, when those people come in, it's scared. That's for sure, right? I gotta admit. But seeing James driving these days, it's just, maybe I can say because I don't compete anymore. But like, if I was a driver, if I was in the field right now, it'd be tough to see myself beating him. To be honest. That's how good he been. Not just him, a few top drivers right now.
Everybody has gotten so good.
Yeah.
Right. Like Osbo's driving in the last 2 or 3 years. Like he's always been great. I don't ever want to take anything away from Osbo. He's incredible. But anytime we've had these moments where these drivers come in, you have to just get that much better or you drop down the ranks really, really quick. And the Osbo this year is just crazy. And I love it. Yeah.
Yep.
I know you have to go. I kind of want to wrap up with one last big question.
Okay.
In the history books of FD, once, we're already 20 years in, we already have a Hall of Fame. There's history. We're a generation in. We're a full adult into drifting. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want people to talk about your career? what do you think? How do you see your career now that you've been away from it for a little bit? How do you see this history that you were, a part of?
That's a tough one. Because
no easy questions here. No easy questions here. I knew I only had a limited time, so I had to go hard hitting right off the bat.
Yeah, like you say, it's just the sports is getting better and every year. So when I won a championship, it's like long time ago, like how many eras ago, I don't even know. So it's hard for me to convince myself or convince other people, oh, I was like this, because everybody nowadays can do what I've done. So yeah, it's hard to say what way I want people to remember myself. Yeah, it's a tough one. But one thing I was pretty good was like a qualifying. When they had a qualifying format, I was pretty consistently high place qualifying and driving kind of clean. I don't know if you're talking about like a driving style and stuff, but
I mean, it's more just how, you looking back, how you saw yourself. It could have been on track, off track, anything. Like it's not a question a lot of people get asked to be that introspective, and you were very humble. So I wanted to kind of show, break that a little bit to, to let you brag about yourself a bit, because I think you really deserve to.
I guess I was clean in a way. I'm pretty sure if you even now, if you ask other drivers, I'm pretty sure a lot of people say, "Oh, Dai was easy to follow because I don't do any crazy stuff," and I think my driving style is very clean to begin with. I don't do jerky moves, so that kind of put myself in a bad position because everybody is easy to follow me, right? But in a good way, clean. Yeah, I guess.
No, I know what you mean. I mean, it would work really well under kind of the new judging system. I mean, maybe that's your motivation to come back because clean driving is very rewarded right now.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we can make, maybe we'll try and convince you. It's just, we'll find a sponsor that wants you back in the sport. And, I know some people at Turn 14, maybe I'll make some calls, but guys, you need to get back. I got the perfect driver. The car's already there. A couple updates. It's ready to go.
Okay.
So
I might do it.
All right. I'll call Mike Kojima right after this and just be like, hey, I know you're with the Sorensens, but what's it going to take? Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. Had a good time talking to you.
Yeah. For everybody listening or watching, definitely go back and check out Behind the Smoke. It's a trip. If you were a part of that era, if you remember it, it's really cool to go back and watch it. If you only got into drifting in the last couple of years, go back and understand what the sport was like, because it's very much the same, but also wildly different at the same time. And you can see how funny Dai was. Still is. Still a bit of a prankster. I guarantee it's in there somewhere. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We're going to drop all your links and stuff. Maybe I'll leave a playlist down below of all the videos, my favorites. And we'll catch everybody next week.